So like, what are the things that you're excited about besides the motherdom thing? Like, are you excited about anything business wise, et cetera?
Yeah, I'm really excited about my OnlyFans. You know, I was a stripper for a long time, and I feel like it's like a digital strip club. Like, it's just fun for me. I feel like I'm going back to my roots, and like, you know, I think that a lot of people don't like to admit it, but like, for example, when I was a stripper, the reaction I used to get when I went on stage, you don't really get that reaction anymore as a famous person.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you get a reaction, but you get a very different reaction. It's more like, oh my God, you're Amber Rose. Can I get a picture?
Right.
It's not like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. What's your name? Where are you
Right.
from? Like, they already know.
Yeah.
So it's like, I know why you're coming over to talk to me.
Right. No, I could totally
It's not
understand
the
that.
same energy.
I remember like going to strip clubs back in the day, and like there would always be just that one girl that everybody was kind of waiting to get on stage, like the one girl who just happened to be like the hottest girl in the club. I feel like that was probably you for a while before you sort of like broke out of that and just got into the entertainment
I was
industry
always
in
the
general.
hottest girl in the club.
Right.
I feel like. I mean, I just had, you know, but I also was a dancer at a time where you had to audition. Like, you had to be a really bad bitch to get in the club. And this is before Instagram and shit. So like, once girls became like Instagram models, strip clubs kind of went downhill because it was like, we need girls to work here. So we'll pretty much take whoever we can get.
Right.
Because all the bad bitches are on Instagram making money.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about how much Instagram and now OnlyFans has kind of like taken all the power in that regard and put it in the hands of the performers or the girls.
Yeah, but it's cool. It's
Oh,
cool. Yeah, you get to kind of do your own thing on your own time.
I know girls who have like 10, 15,000 followers who are making like $15,000 a month off OnlyFans.
Yeah, that's great.
Which is crazy to me because that's not a lot of followers, but they're clearly like monetizing the fuck out of the followers that they
Right.
do have.
Right.
And when you think about that dollar amount in comparison to like the average person who starts stripping, I mean, the fact that you get to do that and you don't have to leave your house and you can just hook up with your boyfriend or just take photos of
Right.
yourself or whatever. I mean, that's pretty unbelievable, this change that
Yeah,
we're
like
seeing.
my husband literally is the creative director of all my OnlyFans
Okay.
stuff. Like,
Interesting.
he just thinks it's cool. He loves that I love him, but I still have my freedom to do what I want.
Right, because last night when we were checking out your OnlyFans or like looking into your Instagram and his Instagram, I'm like, oh shit, he got her link in his bio. That's some real
Tight.
support right there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's dope though. What made you actually decide that you wanted to do it? I'm assuming you probably thought it was like too porny for you to do it for a period of time, and then you.
No, I was pregnant.
Oh well, that
And
makes
then
sense
I was
too,
like
yeah.
chunky after the baby. I kind of wanted to feel comfortable again and work out, and I would have done it much sooner.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to, like, you know, be ready for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, it's interesting too because like a lot of like the stripping thing, I mean, as you get to be a bigger and bigger name, that just becomes way more difficult to pull off. Like all of a sudden, like a really famous chick in the strip club just seems like there's a lot that could go wrong with that.
For sure.
Whereas you expressing
Dangerous.
yourself through the OnlyFans is like it's 100% your control of how you want it to be put out there and stuff.
Yeah. I love it. It's fun.
Definitely.
I love watching the money go up. Like, I love refreshing the page and watching the money go up. It's tight.
Yeah, I could imagine that. It's probably pretty good. Yeah. I'm yet to break into the OnlyFans game, but me and her, we have a new thing. We'll give you a sneak peek of it before you leave because
Okay.
we're pretty excited about it. But yeah, so I was wondering about that, like in terms of the advice that you would give to somebody who was at that stage, because like when you were just stripping, like how did you think of your life at that point? Like, were you convinced that that was just the thing that you wanted to be doing, or were you trying to parlay that into something bigger or different?
Well, at the time when I was stripping, it was the best time of my life.
Really?
Let me just say that. Yes, it was the best time of my life. Not that my kids are a burden or anything, but I didn't have children. I was free. If I wanted to sleep at a friend's house on their couch or like kind of just be a nomad and do whatever I want, it was just a fun time. And I was making really good money, like to be in my 20s and shit, like, or, you know. But what's crazy is that I always, like I grew up in South Philly.
Right.
And since I was a kid, I would always tell my friends, I'm going to live in Hollywood. I'm going to be famous. And I'm not going to fucking be here. Like, this is not going to be my life.
Really?
And what's crazy is like when The Secret came out and they're like, if you believe it, you'll achieve it, all that bullshit. And it's corny, but it's really true. Like maybe I was delusional, but I wasn't, because it really happened for me. And the steps, the way it happened wasn't exactly what I thought was going to happen or how it was going to happen. But my first apartment was on Hollywood and Highland when I moved to LA.
Right.
Yeah. And I just knew that wasn't the end for me. That wasn't going to be my whole life.
That's interesting. Do you feel like your parents were a big part of why you had that self belief, or was that more of just like a thing that you found along the way?
So one thing that I do with my kids, what my mom did with me, she always told me to dress myself, make my own choices, and never lie to her. Even if it disappointed her, like never ever lie. No matter what I did, always tell her the truth. And when I was younger and I watched Sinead O'Connor's video, Nothing Compares to You, and I was like, wow, she's just so beautiful. Like one day I would really want to like shave my head like that. And I turned 18 and I was like, I want to do it. And my mom, she would be like, do that shit. Like, I would be young and I would be like, I want to wear like a blue sock and an orange sock, and I want to wear 2 different sneakers, and I want to like wear my hair crazy. And my mom would be like, do that shit. You look beautiful. Like, you know, she just, and I looked crazy.
Right.
I have pictures. But she always pushed me to just be an individual and just believe in myself, whatever that was. And I don't know.
That's really interesting, because like once you stop being a kid, like your whole childhood is just the procession of basically anything interesting and weird being sort of beaten out of you by societal pressure.
Right,
You know, you're like 3 years old and you're wacky and crazy and you're throwing paint at the wall and you're wearing whatever clothes you want, and then by the time you're like 10, all of a sudden you're like really concerned about what the other kids in school are going to think of you.
Right.
And it's interesting to see how you can kind of like set a kid up mentally to be able to survive that with who they are intact.
Yeah, well, I mean, she didn't know that she was building me up to be famous and deal with scrutiny.
Right.
So for me, people deal with trauma and scrutiny and this lifestyle in very different ways. But for me, I sleep like a baby at night. Like nothing bothers me, because my whole life people talk shit about me. They always said I was weird and different, and you know, I would knock on my friend's door and their parents would be like, the weird girl from down the street is knocking on the door, you know?
Really?
It was just who I have always been. So to see comments and shit, it's just like, it's everyday life for me, pretty much.
I mean, you were very ahead of your time in that regard, and especially in the regard of like, it used to be a lot harder. Like people used to have a much more defined role in order to be famous. And with you, it's like everybody just accepts that you're a celebrity and that it doesn't really matter that music is not your primary thing, or that you're not like a model in the traditional sense. But like now the world's really very much set up for that, because any girl could, or, you know, presumably any guy too, if any guys out there are interested, you could set up OnlyFans and just sort of like, you know, it doesn't have to be sexual in nature, which is another cool thing that I keep seeing on OnlyFans, is that people are finding more and more ways to just like share more of themselves than they're willing to give away for free on YouTube and Instagram, and sort of create a living off of that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I definitely came out at a time where it was, people blamed me for becoming famous. And I was like, how are you blaming me? Blame the consumer. I'm not doing shit. I'm just in a relationship with someone at the time that I cared about. I didn't even say anything. I didn't do any interviews. I didn't do anything crazy to try to be famous. It just happened for me. So it's like, you want me to go back to Philly and fucking be a dancer again? Or do you want me to capitalize on what God put into my life, I guess? You know what I mean? It's like, the thing of it is, like, once you become famous, it doesn't really equate to money.
Right.
Like, you have this
That's
fame.
on you.
Yeah, you have this fame, and then it's like, okay, I have this fame. Like, how the fuck do I make money now?
Right.
Like, what do I do, you know?
And it's funny because that like you got a lot of the hate that, you know, Paris Hilton got, that Kim Kardashian got, where it's like we can't put them in a box of exactly what their value is to the world.
Right.
So somehow this is going to like enrage us as a community, which doesn't seem like it really happens that much. Like I could think of a whole bunch of different girls who are popping in the rap industry who basically dated a rapper, built up their profile through that, and now they're a model, they're hosting clubs, they're maybe rapping on their own. There's like a ton of different girls that are floating around my head. There are examples of that. And nobody seems to really be that pressed about like how they got there or if they deserve this position that they're in.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, it was at a time where it wasn't happening for anyone. You know, and the thing with Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian is that they came from money. Like, you know, Paris was like an heiress, and I was like this. I grew up very poor in Philly. I was a dancer, and then I started dating one of the most famous people in the world, and they were mad at me for that.